going live for another for another. Let me see. Uh, Hold on. We're trying to get some lighting issues alleviated here. Uh, Give me one moment, and as my production assistant, the lovely Ivory. Oh yeah, did her thing, and yeah. So I don't know, maybe cut that one back on.
Because you know the other one ain't. This right here. Hold up. Like you seen your computer.
Oh yeah. Because we were using this last time too. Yeah, just because. Boom. There we go. All right, light us up. Oh yeah, baby. There it is. That's what we were looking for. All right, so here we go. Let's start off again from the top. My name is Kris Whitaker, also known as Kris with a K, and we are about to blast off another test run episode of All About Klout. And you might say, what is All About Klout? What All About Klout is all about Klout with a K. And that's because my name is Kris, and that's because I am living out loud. That's what the Klout stands for. That's what it means. And that means that you are going to get my thoughts, my views, and my opinions on a range of different topics, along with my co host, who is not here with us today, but she will be on the first official podcast that is going to be Charity Powell. She's my co host, and we're just going to talk about a lot of different topics. Um, Also, have as a part of the crew the lovely and effervescent Ivory Voice, who is going to be our production assistant, and of course, a part of the crew chiming in whenever she just feels like it. Now, we were having a lot of discussion about topics. What should we talk about? What are some of the discussions that we had that we're going to have? And we've basically kind of narrowed it down to a few topics that we definitely feel like they need to be touched on, and so that's what we are definitely going to do. We definitely appreciate any comments or any feedback that you, the listening audience, might have. We just, of course, ask that you do so in a relatively respectful manner, but hey, if we know and we understand there are going to be haters, there are going to be people who don't necessarily like what I say, how I say it, how I look, how whatever. But I would really ask that you um, consider the conversations that are being had and try to take that definitely into consideration when you are making your comments. I know that uh, we all know that everyone has an opinion, and that's fine, and we applaud that. We respect differences that we have one from another, but at the same time, we also want to have some real thought provoking and genuine, honest conversation. Um, that again, uh, the goal here is to obviously be entertaining, but to also, in some ways, kind of um, open up your mind a little bit. We want to have you really put some thought into the discussions that we're having, because I certainly believe that some of the conversations that we're going to be having are necessary, and they're just food for thought. It's really here just to um, have you think about some things, have you chuckle at my corny jokes, but the overall thing is for us to uh, have a good time, having good conversation. How's that sound, everybody? It's a plan. That's what we're gonna do.
Sounds good.
All righty, there's Ivory. She's just decided to chime in, and we certainly appreciate that every time that she does because she certainly works very hard to make sure that we are looking good and that we are sounding good. And we certainly appreciate all of her hard work in the background.
Thank you. Thank you.
There you go. She's chiming in
It's
once again. We
greatly
love it.
appreciated.
All righty, that's what I'm talking about. That's what we like to hear. So, just giving you a heads up on a few of the topics going to be discussed in a few of the coming episodes. I think one of the things that we are definitely going to start it off with, and it's a biggie. It's one that honestly we could talk about it all day, every day, and we might never come to some sort of consensus. But I think we're gonna just step out there and give it our college try and see if we can't, again, provoke some thought and have some really good conversations around the subject of being black in America. What does that mean? What does it look like? How do we navigate this life? Um,
Mm.
how do we exist? How do we live? How do we thrive? What what
What I
is it?
want to know though is how did white people get in control of the black people anyways? Like
That one is, ooh, that's a good
who
one.
started it and why? From my understanding, I heard that the white man came and they handed him a Bible and a gun, and they chose the gun over the
Well,
Bible. So
that's not quite how it happened. That's a real generalization of what occurred, but it's pretty accurate, given that when the Europeans first went to Africa, they said, "Oh, we're gonna do some trading. We're gonna this, that, and the other." And but what would ultimately end up happening is that they would come in again, um, with the Bible, and how it was the Bible, then the gun, if you want to be
right.
completely accurate. And basically what would happen is that the Europeans would go over to some of those African countries and say, "Hey, we want to trade with you, this, that, and the other. And okay, can we have, we've got, a few people that want to be here permanently, so they can, build a little church, build a little school, something of that nature." So that's where the Bible and the thing about, oh, we have to educate these quote unquote heathens. We have to, that sort of thing. And so what would happen is, oh, they would have, their little church or little school or whatever built. And then they would say, oh, well, we have to have, some of our people here to protect them. So that's where the gun came in. And
Mm.
you have to understand at this time, um, Europeans, had guns, and Africans, for the most part, did not.
Right.
So, it's a thing where nobody that's living now was living then, so that we can't give
That
super
that we
yeah,
know of.
yeah, but but what we know is that that's basically how it kind of uh, came to be.
Mhm.
And I mean, that's obviously the simple, the simple version of kind of how it happened, but that's essentially what happened, and it happened. If you just go and you look at a map of Africa,
Mm-hmm.
and you see how the Europeans basically just went in, and kind of carved
Took
it up,
over.
took over, kind of carved it up.
Yeah.
The Dutch in South Africa, the British typically in West Africa. The French got in on it as well, and you have to understand this was all during that British and European
Mm-hmm.
imperialistic uh, times where white folks went and got them once they got them some boats. Oh man, you couldn't tell them nothing. They want to go all over the world and conquer, rape, and pillage. So
Mm.
it's a thing where, for whatever reason, Europeans felt like they had the right, and they were given some sort of special privilege to go out uh, and conquer. And it's not just it's mainly a European thing, because slavery before the European slave trade did not mean that there were ways for you to get out of slavery. You could buy your way out of slavery. You could
Mm-hmm.
marry out of slavery. There were any number of ways in which you were able to attain your freedom. But with the European slave trade, they came with this concept of, and it's called chattel slavery. And what that means is that if you are chattel, you are someone's property. That means they own you. That means that you have no free will, no say over, what happens to you.
Oh wow,
Now,
that's crazy.
yeah, that is crazy. And the other thing that kind of compounded the situation was the fact that um, Africans during that time did not necessarily, their concept of land ownership was not the same as the European concept of land ownership. So again, when we say that they would come over and say, "Hey, can we have a little plot of land so that we can build a church or a school or whatever?" Then what would typically happen is that the Africans would give the Europeans the least desirable property and say, "Hell, yeah, you can. We're not using this, or this is not. What I'm saying, this is not anything thing that that is quote unquote valued
Mm-hmm.
by us. So the the Europeans would take their little whatever little plot of land that was given to them by the Africans to build a church or build a school or whatever. And then now, of course, the African um, concept of ownership is sort of different, especially when it comes to land.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the land collectively belonged to the people, and so it's not like um, there weren't titles or deeds or paperwork that said, "Oh, this is this person's property," or "This is
Right.
that person's property." It was more so a general understanding, because it was a general understanding amongst tribes people
Mm-hmm.
that really, at the end of the day, even though you were giving stewardship over the land really, in their mindset, belonged to all of the people. You know what I mean? It belonged, no one person. There was no concept of ownership in that same fashion. If you had a piece of property and your family lived there, it was like you just had basically stewardship over it. For the time that you and your family were there. And again, at the end of
Yeah,
the
because
day,
in reality, nobody owns anything.
we'll see
In
there.
reality, you know.
There you go. It's only because of um, our common agreement that we are going to, follow these particular rules and say that, okay, this is yours, this is mine, this. We put all of these names, labels, and definitions on things that,
Don't
yeah.
have rights to.
I mean, it, we we got rules, we got laws. Don't know. There's but again, who follows them all,
Yeah,
and
we.
who says who gets to get away with this or who gets to get away with that. It is typically the people who have accumulated a lot of wealth or a lot of things, and so and I think we have stumbled upon a brand new topic of discussion,
Hmm.
the one that I like to call the isms. So we're gonna talk about a lot of the isms
Okay.
and how the isms affect our daily life. We're gonna go obviously if we're gonna talk about the the big three of the isms: racism,
Okay.
classism. I guess we should also talk about the one that seems to um, affect everyone's life in one way or another: capitalism.
Hmm.
Ooh, yeah,
Okay.
that money, 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 man. Yeah, what would we do for it? What would we do with it? And it's a lot of people don't understand that there is a whole power structure in place uh, in order to keep the people that have a lot and make sure they keep having a lot. And there's also a lot of people out there making sure that the people that don't have much
Don't
continue
have anything.
don't have anything. So
Mm-mm.
it's a it's one of those things where you have to decide, for yourself, um, how much is enough. What do you need to live? What you know what I mean? But here's the other thing. It's like, okay, we all like stuff, but stuff costs money. And so what are we gonna do to get the stuff? And what are we gonna, it's like, hey, uh you have to kind of really decide for yourself, you know, exactly um, what what makes you happy, what fulfills you. What do you want your your life, your existence, everything um, that you do to be all about money? Ah, some would say yes, some would say no.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that you definitely have to get and have enough um, to uh, provide for yourself, provide for your family,
Mm-hmm.
those sorts of things. But do you need to have, $8 gazillion? I don't know. That's one of the things that I mean, and then it comes to the fact that, okay, if you have a good amount of resources, what are you doing with them? Are you um, contributing in a positive way to your community? Are you giving back, or are you just continuing to just hoard money and resources? So, I mean, these these are these are the questions that you have to kind of uh, you have to consider,
Mm-hmm.
because at the end of the day, it's like, what w- what is it going to be about, for you? What is it going to be? What are what are what are you willing to do, and what are you willing to compromise your principles? Are you willing to, what I mean, these are questions that people have to kind of mull over and wrestle with every day. So, um, and then we, if you get into that, then you have to kind of get into, okay, these laws, these rules, all of that good stuff. Um, are they going to, again, are they there to help me
Mm-hmm.
or help society, or are they there to control
Right.
and manipulate? And are they there um, to keep you somewhat distracted, if you will,
Mm.
or keep you in, quote unquote, your place?
Mm-hmm.
And who says, and who determines what your place is?
Right.
And so again, that's, you know classism and capitalism, they kind of go hand in hand, because typically the people that are, quote unquote, upper class, what are, they have probably at some point or another engaged in a lot of capitalism, so that they could
Mm-hmm.
get to that level, to where they don't necessarily have to follow the same rules as everyone else. And so for me, that's really what, what classism and what capitalism comes down to. It comes down to, if I uh, accumulate, a substantial amount of um, money or wealth, then that automatically, kind of places me in a different, quote unquote, class. I'm upper class, I'm upper middle class, I'm this, I'm that, the other. Again, how do we, as human beings, want to define our existence, or the value of our existence?
Mm.
You know what I mean? So it gets deep. It kind of gets to a point where you have to really, again, you have to ask yourself, you know, what do I want my the focus of my life and my efforts to be about?
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think, everybody makes those decisions and those choices, for themselves. Now, are there going to oftentimes be outside factors? Yeah, um, but again, it at the end of the day, um, you can. There's certain things that you can participate in, or you cannot participate. Do you want to, you know, work 80 hours a week to have and buy stuff, or would you prefer just to, work, 45, 50, and just, it again, these are just um, choices and decisions that everyone has to make for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't think there's, you know, what's good for me, or what I deem as good, may not be good for you. May not good for other person, but
Mm-hmm.
we can all kind of, like I said, once once you make that decision for yourself, then typically what happens is you kind of move through life and you find um, what what works best for you,
Mhm.
and hopefully you find someone else who kind of feels similar, and then again, what happens from there, you know, is completely, up to you and up to, like I said, because I say this all the time. Any wherever you find yourself in any particular moment in your life, that is because of the sum of the decisions that you have made. So
Mhm.
if you, like, again, if you wake up one morning and you say, "Hey, I don't necessarily like where I'm at," well, if you make some different decisions, you'll get a different outcome.
Mhm.
So um, again, yeah, to me, I just look at it like, hey, everybody's got their journey. You know what I mean? I'm not here to
Right.
judge. I can't judge nobody. People live in glass houses cannot throw stones. So, it comes down to what you feel is the best decision for you and for whoever is close to you. So, yeah, y'all just let Chris go on and on and on and on. And all right. Well, I definitely feel like this was a good, strong test run.
It was.
We got
Proud of you.
yeah, we got in.
Very, very proud of you.
I appreciate that. We got into some subjects. Got a little. I think one of the things that I want to do moving forward is we'll definitely step up our game as far as like just just research and just making sure that um, for the most part we're just not just up here just saying stuff that isn't true and can't be fact checked. Although, hold on, there's some folks get on TV and just lie like they want to. So if I say something, then man, don't be getting mad at me. And if you're gonna get mad at me, get mad at them other people too.
Right.
So I think that's how it's gonna be. That's how we're gonna leave it for right now. We're
Mhm.
at the 27-minute mark, and that's not bad for just me kind of rambling. And no, I think I did a little bit more than rambling, but
You did.
no, I think that's actually pretty good. Uh, we stayed on topic.
Yes, you did.
We stayed on point, and I feel like uh, I definitely feel like we're moving in the right direction, making progress each day. So, yeah. Stay tuned for more of the All About Clout podcast. This has been your host, Chris with a K.
We hope
And
you have a great, wonderful now.
all right. Thank you, folks. We'll see you next time.
All right. That's good. That's
That was
really
good.
good.
That was good. That was